Welcome back, novices, new viewers. This week we're talking about my fishing rod arsenal for 2023. I've watched a couple of these videos of people just dub around jabbing. Not all about that today. What we're gonna do is we're gonna get right into it. The first rod I'm talking about is my light rod. It is an Abu Garcia, the Vigilante 2.0. This rod is a 5 6 inch rod. You might be saying that's a really short rod, but it is a short rod. Now this rod, I can throw stuff on this rod from 1/16 of an ounce to 5/16 of an ounce. And the line I can throw on there is probably gonna be from 2 to 10 pound line. And I'm probably gonna lean more on that 8-pound line, probably fluorocarbon. I might even put braid as a backing, just because I like how responsive it is. I'd say this is a moderate fast action. You can see it bends down probably 1, 2, 3, 4 guides, maybe 5 before it starts getting really stiff. Anyway, that's my light rod. I'm gonna be using that for panfish, black crappie, rock bass, trout. That's my light action spinning rod. That's gonna set you back 36.96 to 42.28, somewhere around there. So it's not gonna break the bank. Specific rod for a very specific reason. You're not gonna be, you could catch bass on this, but you might snap that rod. So you want to be careful if you catch a really big fish. You want to have your drag set properly on the reel. So the next rod in my spinning arsenal be a medium light. It's a St. Croix Bass X rod. This rod is 6 foot 10 inches long. I already told you it was medium light. Now this is an extra fast action rod. Now if I can get this in frame, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4 guides, maybe 5 before it gets really stiff. So it's gonna be pretty responsive for setting that hook, even though it's a medium light rod. This Bass X rod, my medium light, can throw from 1/8 to a 1/2 ounce lure. And I'm gonna use what this calls for, 6 to 10 pound line. So like a fluorocarbon, probably with a braid backing, just because I like it. It's a more responsive, you get more feel if you put the braid on and then just use a fluorocarbon leader. This one's gonna run about $125, and you can go on stcroix.com if you wanna check out and look at like the different rods. They have literally every rod you'd probably need. A little pricey for beginners, but once I held one of these rods in the store, I was like, I have to get one of these rods. What am I gonna use that for? Lighter presentations, probably like a drop shot Ned rig, something like that. Something very light, weightless, stuff like that. If I do a wacky rig, probably that's what I'm gonna use. So jumping up to a medium-sized rod, this is a St. Croix Bass X as well. This rod is 7 foot 1 inch in length. It's a one-piece rod. All my rods are one piece. I like how responsive and sensitive they are. You can feel more with the one-piece rod. Anytime there's a 2-piece rod, a 4-piece rod, multi-piece rod, you're gonna lose sensitivity between those guides. I know that's changed a lot recently, but I still feel like a one-piece rod is more sensitive. With a fast action, 3/16 to a 5/8 ounce lure you can throw on this rod. What it says you're gonna use is 6 to 12 pound line. Again, I'm probably gonna use braid backing to a fluorocarbon leader. So this is a fast action. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe 5 guides before it really gets into that backbone. You might be saying, what are you gonna use that for? I use this a lot when I use a Texas rig with no weight, which isn't really a Texas rig, it's just a weedless, weightless lure. So I'll use an extra wide gap hook on a worm and I'll toss this out. This is one of my favorite setups, and I always seem to catch the larger bass using a finesse lure. I don't know if it's where I am or if it's just a technique or I just got luck with it. Anyway, that is my medium spinning rod setup. Okay, stepping up to my next rod. I'm gonna sound like a broken record, another St. Croix. You might be asking yourself, is this guy sponsored by St. Croix? I am not. I am sponsored by no one. I'm sponsored by myself with my paychecks. Anyways, this is a St. Croix Premier rod. This is a 6 foot 6 inch medium heavy rod. Fast action. Let's take a look at that tip again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guides again before it starts really getting stiff. You're gonna use a 3/8 ounce to a 3/4 ounce lure on this guy. And this rod calls for 8 to 14 pound line. Again, I'm gonna use braid backing to a fluorocarbon leader. Now, what is this rod gonna set you back? A little bit pricier. This rod's gonna run you about 170 bucks. Just the rod. By far one of my favorite rods. Maybe it's because it's the first St. Croix rod I got. And I beat the unholy heck out of this rod. This is the Mojo Bass rod. It's a one piece again. Originally, this was a medium rod, but if you take a look, I broke the tip off. So this is still a medium, but look where that engages now. So I maybe got 1, 2, 3 before I start getting into that backbone. That's more than the heavy rod. So this is gonna be, or more than that medium heavy rod. So I'm gonna consider that a heavy rod now, even though I snapped the tip off. I kind of just sanded it down. I still fish with it. It's a 7'1", but now it's really a 6'8" rod. It says you can use a 3/16 ounce to a 5/8 ounce weight. I'm probably gonna go up a little bit on that. It's not like the rod got stronger, but it definitely got stiffer because there's less of that tip on the rod. The line that this one calls for is 6 to 12 pound line. I'm probably gonna use, again, braid on this. I'll probably use like 15 pound braid to like a 12 pound fluorocarbon, or maybe even like a 20 pound braid to a 15 pound fluorocarbon. But this is more of like my heaviest spinning rod I could possibly throw. This rod cost me 150 bucks when I bought it. I mean, it's probably 3 years ago or so when I got it. Well, let's start taking a look at the bait casters I'm using this year. So my first bait caster is, you guessed it, by St. Croix again. It's the Mojo Yak rod. This rod's 7 feet long. It's a fast action rod. 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 5 guides down. So it's a pretty noodly casting rod. I'm gonna throw lighter stuff on this. It says I can throw a 1/4 ounce to 5/8 ounce. It's a pretty light casting rod. The line it calls for is between 10 and 17 pound. On my bait caster rods, I like to go just fluorocarbon. I feel like it gives me a little bit more leeway for messing up. So if I get a bird's nest, it's easier to pick out. If it's braid, it's almost terminal. I'm gonna use this for lighter stuff. I'm gonna use it for crankbaits. I'm gonna use it for Texas rigs with weights. Smaller lures is what I'm gonna use this for if I'm bait casting. Maybe if I'm doing a topwater spook and I really need to get some bend out of that rod, I might use this guy. Poppers I'll probably use on this guy. What does this Mojo Yak rod run me? That rod right there, the Mojo Yak rod, is gonna set you back about 160 bucks, probably before tax. I don't really throw like spinner baits or chatter baits or anything like that on this. It's a little bit light for that. Oh, jumping up in size for my bait caster, I gotta lose. I know everyone's probably like, ooh, or hey, I got that rod. I don't have any shade to throw at lose. I like lose. I like this rod a lot. I've caught a lot of fish on this rod. Now this is the Carbon Fire Speed Stick. I went on Lou's website trying to look for it, couldn't find it. I think it's only sold exclusively at like Dick's, possibly Walmart. So that was a little disconcerting that I couldn't find that rod on Lou's website. Let's get more into this rod. So this is a medium heavy rod, fast action rod. So you can see it bends a little, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 still before it really starts getting into that backbone. This rod says I can throw a 1/4 ounce to 1 ounce lures, that's pretty crazy. A 1 ounce lure is pretty heavy. The line weight, this is also insane. The line weight says 12 to 50 pound line you can throw on this. That's also crazy. What the heck's going on over at Lou's? What am I gonna use this for? Well, on the handle or on the butt end of this, it says for jigs and worms. That's not at all what I use this for. I use this for spinner baits. I'll throw chatter baits on this. I'll throw jerk baits on this guy. What's the price point on this? Just the rod is gonna set you back $79.99 to $69.79. I got the combo, so I can't remember what the total was. I bought it like 2 years ago. I saw the reel listed at $89.99. Am I good at math? No. I'm gonna have that total pop up right there once I go in and figure it out and sit down and get a calculator out. And I throw a lot of different lures, different types of lures on this. Spinner baits, chatter baits, deep diving crankbaits, jerk baits. And I find that I use so many different lures on the medium heavy, I'm gonna get another one. So the next rod I'm gonna be adding to my arsenal is another St. Croix rod. Big surprise. It's the St. Croix Mojo Bass rod. It's gonna be 6'8" It's medium heavy, fast action rod. Now it's a bit smaller than that 7.2 that I just showed you with the loose. You might be saying, why do you want a shorter rod? Because I'm a friggin' shorter guy. If I want to use a jerkbait, I find with that larger rod, I keep hitting the water sometimes. I have to kind of do it at a weird angle. So I was hoping at 6.8, I'd be able to get a little bit more movement out of the rod for jerkbaits. Just going to give me a little bit more mobility, I guess is what I want to say. 3/8 ounce to 1 ounce lure, 12 to 20 pound line. So it's relatively the same. It's a little lighter than that Lew's carbon fire, sorry. Now what's that Mojo Bass rod gonna set me back? About 150 bucks. But good news, I got a Bass Pro Shop gift card, so I'm gonna use a chunk of that on it. Broken record over here. St. Croix rod, Mojo Bass rod. This is a 7-foot heavy, fast action, 3/8 ounce to 1.5 ounce lure rating on this rod. 14 to 25 pound line. It's a heavy. So you can see it's stiffer already. Probably, it's still going down 5 of the guys. So even with fast action and heavy, it's going down. It's going to bend down to that 5th eye and then really lock into that backbone. What do I throw on this? I will put braid on this guy just because of what I'm going to be doing with it. I'm going to be doing frogging or jig fishing, the heavier stuff, you know, like a 1 ounce lure, a 1 ounce jig, or if I had to throw an umbrella rig, I'd probably throw it on that. Umbrella rigs are illegal where I am, so not going to happen. Maybe small swim baits, like something like that guy, I'll probably throw on that. So that's my heavy rod. Punching through like heavy stuff. That's what I'm going to use this heavy rod for. Now let's talk about my last rod that probably don't need to buy. It's made by Dobbins. It's in the Fury series. This is an 8-foot rod. It's a heavy, fast action rod. And the lure weight it can throw, 2 to 8 ounce lures. Effing crazy, right? It says it can hold 20 to 40 pound line. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's bending roughly down five of the eyelets before it starts engaging. I don't know if that's common or not. Maybe I should pay attention to that. And what I'm going to throw on this guy is going to be all my large swim baits. Something like that. This kind of guy, I'll probably throw on that. I basically watched too many videos on swim baits and went online and bought that rod. I spent too much money and bought the reel too. You probably don't need a rod that big. You might be saying, why the hell does this guy have so many St. Croix rods? I'm not sponsored by St. Croix, although I wouldn't be opposed to it. If you guys want to buy one of their rods, you can always use my discount code. You just go on there and then use the code not a discount, because I don't have a discount code. No discounts over here. I'm not getting any breaks unless I find a sale. Anyway, Freshwater Fishing Novices new viewers, I hope you like seeing all the rods I'm going to be throwing this year. I'm not trying to sell you on any of these rods. All I can say is if you want to see why I throw a St. Croix rod, and you've been throwing stuff, your rods, you've been using it from Walmart, Academy, Dick's Sporting Goods. If you can find a Bass Pro Shop, actually Dick's carries St. Croix rods too, I noticed. Go into the store and hold one of the rods compared to one of your other rods, just to get the feel of how that rod feels. When you're considering buying a rod, go into the store, pick the rod up and feel it. The other thing you could do is bring the reel that you want to put on it, bring it into the store with you without line on it, put it on the rod, and then feel how that feels. And that's a good way to get an idea how that rod's going to feel in your hand before you actually buy the rod, especially if you're dropping $100+ on rods. I hope everyone liked watching this video this week. You guys can do all the YouTube things if you want. If not, well, I can't force you to. Thanks for watching this week. Hope everyone has a great weekend. Catch you next week.